So, you want to talk about Yua?
Absolutely. Right. Is it recording now?
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, it is.
Okay. All right. So, Kamen Rider Zero. Uh, in in short, how would you describe the last 8 episodes?
The lowest point of this show by far.
Yep. Yep. Not that there aren't things that are interesting
No. That's
and
the
cool.
struggle. The struggle
There
with Zero
certainly
One
are.
for me so far has been that there are plenty of things that I like, but there are also so many other things that I don't care for.
Yep. You can't just fucking say it sucks. It doesn't suck. This arc kind of sucked.
Yep.
So the situation is this: fucking Kamen Rider Zero One. This latest arc, as we've moved out of the legal or the battle with Zaya to determine the arc that we've entered is there are Huma gears that are deactivated because Zaya won,
Yep.
and they're turning them back on. But this is mostly a background thing. There's no conflict with these Huma gears.
Yeah,
The
they
conflict is with
all just want
Zaya.
to do they all want to go back to what they were doing before because they're all
Right.
good, and it would undermine the point of the show if they didn't.
Right.
Let's start at the start, because there are a couple things since 25 that we speculated on before. Last time we talked about a hooded figure that came in and was manipulating things behind the scenes. For a while we've been kind of excited to find out the identity of this hooded figure, and I had speculated that it would end up being Izu because female voice, and it seemed like maybe she was under some sort of mind control in the opening. I thought, oh, that would be a neat twist, and that would give her a little bit more to do. Uh, what'd they do, Aaron?
The hooded figure is Vulcan. The hooded figure is Vulcan. Vulcan has secret memory. When I list it out, it sounds so convoluted because it is.
It
Because
sounds a
clearly,
lot more interesting than it is. Also,
yeah. Okay. Uh, put it brief. Vulcan has a chip in his head, which has the memories of a human gear named Naki. That human gear has been programmed to obey Zaya precisely.
right.
And this chip is what allows Vulcan to henshin. So periodically, throughout the series, Naki is taken over, which has done the things that the hooded figure does.
I guess I'll go into why I didn't like this twist, because to me it seemed like they were building up to something new, some sort of new antagonist that was going to sweep in and kind of shake things up. But
Mm-hmm.
instead, we're back to a point where uh, it's just the same group of characters fighting amongst themselves. And even when this revelation eventually leads Vulcan to become brainwashed and a bad guy for all of like 2 episodes, it doesn't last that long, and then it's
No.
over. We should also mention that Vulcan had his character completely nerfed.
He was mind controlled into being racist. He wasn't
Yeah.
racist.
So Vulcan, we mentioned this chip being implanted into his head, and unfortunately, that chip also gave him the memories that he had from episode 1 of hating human gears. So now, and what we had mentioned in the while we were watching it was, oh, it this doesn't feel like he's already so far past this point where he hates human gears. He already
Mm-hmm.
has developed past that it seems dumb to put in an explanation now.
Right. Instead of having a character develop in that direction, they did have him develop, and then they were just like, nah, I was just kidding. He's
Yeah,
fine.
gotta make Thouser
He's
look even more evil. So I don't know. I felt like this twist made things actively less interesting for me.
yeah, I would agree. Not a good twist.
No. I guess the only other thing that is kind of left from those episodes that we watched but didn't really talk about at the time would be Jackal. So
Jackal.
yeah,
Yua gets a new transformation.
Jackal is
It's cool.
it's cool. This is a really cool looking form. Are you happy that you're probably not going to see it again until Thouser turns face, if that even
Yeah.
happens?
Uh huh.
Let's talk
Great. I'm
about
very happy about it.
the Valkyrie in the room.
Sure, sure. Yua, we've gone on about this at length. Every episode, basically, we've mentioned how Yua is kind of a boring character. She doesn't do much. She's like, I don't know. She sucks.
She went through
Basically,
a
she
whole
sucks.
period of the show where she just never transformed.
Yep, like 10 episodes.
Has not been
Full
an
on.
important character.
Stood in the background. Did nothing. Transformed. This is the Yua face turn,
Yes.
which takes a full 8 episodes. It is the main focus of this arc, basically.
And
Uh,
there's let me put it this way. There are several ways that you could go about this and do it right. There's several ways to make it interesting, to make Yua an interesting character, because I want to put forward that neither of us dislike the idea of her as a character, of her as a rider, of even her designs. Those are all great. What
yep,
pains us is that she has all this potential and they never really capitalize on it.
she's just a spare character, basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's really clear that the writing in the show, they had a couple of central ideas. They don't seem to have a main idea, the like central plot, because it just keeps shifting. There's no sign of a central conflict. Like, I'm thinking back to something like Kamen Rider Drive, if you want to compare shows with a similar premise, like the Robot Revolution. The whole show, you got fucking Heart. Heart, even though he wasn't the big bad, he was the central antagonist for most of the show. And they're all going on about, we have to reach the final number. We must reach the final number. And that's what the show is about. The last episode is the final number.
And here, do you have any idea who
No,
the big bad
zero.
is? Who
Zero
what the
idea.
main
For
goal
all we know,
is?
it's Zaya.
Yeah.
But if it was Zaya, that would be really fucking lame.
Oh yeah, because as we saw in this huge stretch of episodes, you know, maybe we should just go through a typical episode in the arc of Yua's face turn.
Absolutely. It's a robot, and he wants to be a chiropractor. That's his life's goal, and his chiropractor master is here, and he wants us to fix him. Oh no, Zaya's here to kill the robot, and then some combination of Toe and Vulcan fight fucking Bowser and Yua, and those two same mooks. They beat them very badly, and then that's it.
Yeah, that's it, and that's it for like. What did we
It's
start
every
at
episode.
when we watched this time?
This batch was 29 onward.
Yeah, 29 to
29,
33. It is just the same thing repeated over and over
Right.
again.
There's no new rub. There's no reason. Like when Bowser shows up and he's like, "Oh, I'll take care of these guys," and he hedges. Why does he think that? Why does he think that that will happen? He's lost consistently every episode. He's just gotten trounced, and he's not adding anything. He's not like clever, like holding something hostage so they'll lose. It's just the same shit.
Well, he is holding two people hostage. The problem is that
He's holding them hostage, but it doesn't ever come into play, really.
It never comes into play. Technically, he has bugs implanted in both Yua and Vulcan, but
Right.
neither Well, Vulcan fights against it and he breaks out of it nearly
Yeah,
instantly. Yua never seems to fight against it until the very, very end, where she then breaks out and we knew that it was going to happen. The problem with this arc is that we knew the end point from fucking
it
episode,
seemed pretty
like,
clear.
yeah, from the first moment where Yua turned heel. We knew that she was going to eventually turn back, which, it's
Yeah,
one thing for that to happen early on, and then, like we were talking about before, you need to keep the intrigue. You need to have either, I suggested Yua uh just having doing something completely reprehensible. That way you're still sort of invested in what's going on, and maybe the audience is led to believe that she's just not going to, change back, even though we know that she is going to. You
hmm,
suggested a double agent thing. Literally anything than just repeating the same sort of, oh, she's starting to have doubts over and over and over again.
even if you were just to do the she's starting to have doubts, that would be fine if it took like 3 or 4 episodes.
Yeah.
But because it took 8 fucking episodes, it just it was bad. It was, they wasted a shitload of time on a storyline that everybody completely figured out halfway through.
It's really dragged the show down, unfortunately.
Yeah, and the time that is being wasted is time that could be used to set up your central conflict, which we still don't have. Like, who? Here's the issue with the central conflict. All right, it's not the robot rebellion. Metsubo Jinrai do not seem to be the central conflict. Zaya, if it is the central conflict, is so low stakes. It's just bad
Yeah, it's
and
laughable.
lame.
And at this point,
Yeah,
Thouser has been defeated multiple times. Multiple people have kicked his ass. Literally everyone in the plot has had a moment where they've beaten up on Thouser. Which, again, we had a whole episode. Our whole last episode actually was all about how great Thouser was. Still
yeah,
a very
yeah,
entertaining actor, still very hammy.
absolutely.
He
Yeah,
needs either an upgrade or he needs a face turn or something, because right now he's just in this holding pattern of, he's gonna put away this human gear. Oh no, he's not, and now he's been trounced yet again.
I mentioned when we were watching, but I'll say for the video. There's a show that's comparable to this that has a comparable problem, which is Kamen Rider Blade had the same issue where we had a villain in the first 10 episodes, and then a part of one of the characters that he beats him and like basically gains agency for himself. But then after that, it's like every 10 episodes or so, they replace the main villain with some other guy and then they beat them. So there's never any build up really. A couple of times the villain is like, "Yes, I was secretly the villain all along." Then they beat that guy and they meet somebody else who's like, "Yes, I was the secret villain. Forget that loser. It was me." Uh, and then finally, the last villain is fine, like good climax, good finale. But you spent like 50 episodes with a bunch of losers.
So what you're saying is you do not recommend Kamen Rider Blade?
No, no, Blade is good for other reasons. Blade is good because it's got a good central cast, good suits, fucking. But the villains are not the strong point.
Well, I think the problem here is that I can understand if people are attached to these characters. Maybe if it's their first writer show. Very
Yeah,
sorry. I am attached to certain ones. Still love Thouser, still love Jin. Uh the
yeah, I would say
main
Jin
cast
is
of
probably.
heroes kind of rings bland to me.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah, definitely.
mm,
They're no fucking like uh, uh build cast.
yeah. Oh yeah,
The
Build
build
had great
cast,
cast.
even just like 10, 15 episodes in, I was fucking down for everybody, especially Banjo.
Yeah. Oh, and I mean, like, even characters that would later have little to no importance in the main plot proper, like Grease, were still
Yeah,
my boy, Grease. Oh,
Right.
it's so cool.
I don't know. It's so weird. You gotta compare the show this screenwriter also wrote, which was X8, right?
Yeah, and X-Aid had a phenomenal cast.
X8 had a great cast, but what I would always say about X8 was the story is fine. What's great about this show is that the cast is really good, and I guess the acting is really good. Even though I don't feel like I have the ability really to analyze like Japanese acting to a great degree because I don't speak the language. But it was at the very least very entertaining acting.
Yes, I mean everyone was a huge, gigantic ham in X-Aid.
Yeah,
X-Aid just did a lot of things different, and it created a lot of
yeah.
intrigue through character dynamics, like Poppy Peepopo, that that fucking name, uh, just having a bunch of different connections to different members of the main cast to the point where
Mm-hmm.
she's like the creation of one of them and also the mother of another one, and it's so weird, but it all works. Every on paper it sounds like it shouldn't work, but it all works in that. And for
And the villain balance is pretty good.
yes, uh
There were like three or so, and each of them had a very distinct like
and
philosophy and
the final
personality.
villain shows up like as far as final villains go relatively early. I think maybe build will
He
remain
shows
the
up
earliest, but
very early.
yes,
Xade's villain shows up very early, and he becomes villain in the last like 20 episodes.
right. And that's Chronos, right? Chronicle.
Yeah.
But the like that's the thing is that even then, and he's this kind of tired trope of like the evil father figure, which is ironically a
Mm-hmm.
father figure to somebody more evil. Uh, but he worked because his actor was hamming it up because his powers kept things interesting, especially his time manipulation abilities. All of
Yeah,
these
he
things
fucking like
worked,
resets everything.
and it felt like such a credible threat. Like
Absolutely.
even Xaid gaining an invincibility power up still didn't feel like it was going to be enough to defeat him. Uh, and here we just don't have that centralized like antagonist.
No.
We don't have anything, and we're just left in kind of this pattern that honestly I would kind of expect from maybe episode 25 to 29 instead of 29 to 34. This is the point where the show is in the middle and maybe it slouches a little bit. The real problem is that we're not in the middle. We're we're supposed to be
We're on the
ramping up
back
towards the
half.
end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's not keep it all negative. That's going to be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what we should say is we're still going to be watching 01. This is not a
Yeah,
we're
we're
not
not
giving
fucking
up on it.
dropping it.
Yeah,
It's not boring.
it's not bad. Oh, we didn't even talk
No.
about fucking Vulcan's upgrade.
Ah, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
really
cool.
cool looking form.
It's great.
Uh, it's like all animals combined. You
Which
were
is
joking. It's like the end power.
it's the end power for a main rider, which only gives me
Mm,
more hope that uh, the final 01 upgrade is going to look amazing and not be one of those dumb all the powers of the progrise keys in one.
yeah.
But what would you like to see from 01 that could turn you around on it? Keep in mind that to those listening, we're not saying that the show needs to follow these specific things and then it will be great or fantastic. It could even do these things and then we might still be mild on it or whatever. But what do you
Yeah.
want to see? How do you want this to turn around?
Thing that makes the most sense, the thing that works the most is we have all five of the main riders of including the two human gears on the same side. So we have some here's my pitch. Bowser is pushed to the edge. He's been beaten several times. He starts developing. And what he develops is like the ultimate fucking life form. He develops like Brainiac, basically, a super AI, uh, which he can run to deal with shit. But it goes haywire. Maybe he even runs it off Zia, the other satellite. So he uses one of these satellites to make this hyper AI. But the hyper AI goes out of control. The monster he's created becomes the new villain, and they can't handle it. And Bowser even is like a prisoner to this thing, and they have to deal with it.
And then the ultimate life form attaches itself to the space station Zia and launches itself down to Earth, threatening to destroy
That's
all
right.
life.
That's right.
Uh,
Exactly.
Shining, Hopper, and Thouser have to go into space and attack it, completing our whole uh, silver and gold
That's right.
protagonists.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'd love this to become Sonic Adventure 2 as well. I don't know. I feel like they're not to uh, poo-poo on that idea too quickly, but I feel like with what they've set up with human gears and AI, that that'd be going against their whole like pro robot agenda.
Well,
But at the same time,
so
it's
that's
yeah.
true. You're right. But what else?
No,
What else can you do?
there's not many other options here because we're in the end game and introducing any singular character, introducing them and getting a backstory set up and getting everyone against them all at the same time is going to take more episodes to be believable than they have time. Or if they spend their time doing that, then they're just not going to have time to do a ending that feels appropriate. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, Thouser leading to something out of his control seems like the best option right now. Honestly, I uh, to go in the opposite direction of my own hypothetical, I feel like they're going to double back onto Horobi and Jin, and they're going to end up being our main antagonists somehow. Even though
Yeah.
all indication has had them working ostensibly for the same goal as the protagonists at this point.
Yeah.
Uh, real quick, I forgot. Other than going with Thouser or Jin, I really don't see how
I mean, or
or
Hirobi, I
Hirobi.
guess.
But
You could.
I was kind of including Jin and Hirobi in there, even though
Yeah.
there's some sort of schism. Really don't see how they're going to do a final villain. It's not looking good, but I guess we'll see when we meet again for the next stretch of
That's
episodes,
right.
which will I guess will either be the end. I'm guessing we'll probably have more to talk about before the end. That's about it. You want to plug your Twitter?
Plug my Twitter. Fucking at Talkcore. See me arguing with people mostly.
Arguing with Pat from Best Friends.
Pat from Best Friends. Professor Otaku.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, and we'll check back in a couple weeks, probably about a month, and see where build. Fuck me. We'll check back in a month, and we'll see if where 01 is at that point.
Yep.